Do you want to pick problems or what?
Start at 1.
Start at 1?
And go to.
After a while, you might want to pick some other ones because we're not going to have time to do them all, but number 1.
I got it.
Multiple choice.
Says use a given frequency distribution to find the class width, the class midpoints of the first class, and the class boundaries. So first, the class width, part A. To find the class width, the easiest way to find the class width, take any two consecutive lower numbers here or the upper and subtract them. So like 12 minus 8, what's that give us? So that's the class width. Part B would be the class midpoint. To find the midpoints, you take the lower number and the higher number for one class, add them together.
Wait, so the range is when you take the lowest and the highest. That's
Right, that's for the whole group. But just for the midpoint, we take 8 and 11, add them together, divide by 2. What's that? 9.5, is that right?
Yeah.
And then C, I'm gonna take his mask down because I can't see anything. Class boundaries, remember class boundaries for the lower one. All we do to find class boundaries is you take the lower and higher for that certain class is at, you just subtract a half from this end, add a half to this end. So it's gonna be 7.5 to
Oh, shoot.
11.5.
I don't know how this question's set.
Is that one of the answers down there?
Yeah.
Yay.
A?
Wait, what?
Do you see those at the bottom ABCs? Before
A
question
has
2.
4. A has
Yes.
A, B, and C.
A has A, B, C,
B
D
has
has
A,
A, B, and C.
So you pick one.
You pick A.
The one that has
First
right.
We're still on A, like number 1, question A. right?
No.
Number
That's
one
not
is
a
just one
That's
question.
an answer.
Yeah, that's the answer for A.
That's the
Number
answer for
answer
number
for
1.
Number 1, the answer is A.
So why is there A, B, C?
Because there's
Look
3
above it at the given
answers to the one
frequency
question.
distribution answers.
I just asked.
Mikey, I'm about to come over there.
Listen. I just asked, are we still on question 1? A.
No. Watch. This is all one question.
Yes.
The answers, you see, it's got a big A, a big B, a big C.
Oh!
It's got
I realized that.
three different answers.
A, B, C. These
I
are
realized
each
that.
question.
I realized that.
It's
Cause like I thought it went like A.
Do we want to do number 2? It's the same thing. Do we want to do it or?
No.
So on to number 3 or what?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah.
Number 3, use the, what is it?
Ogive.
Below to approximate the number in the sample. So if we're going to find the total in the sample, if our ogive goes something like this, where do you find the final total in the sample? Be right here at the end. That's, we look out here at the frequency. So take that back over. About what is it?
Wait, are we looking at the number on the side or?
Yeah, on the side, because that's the frequency.
80.
80. So which answer is that?
B.
Trent, there's not even a 70.
What?
Is it 70?
Wait, how did we do that?
Is
Oh,
it
you
70,
take the
80?
last number.
Michael, after that last problem, don't criticize anybody about
I
answering
didn't
questions.
say
all right?
I think it's like 70, 80. It's like, what?
Come on, Michael.
But it has to be
did, but
whichever
not.
one's the frequency. So this one's the number, the other side is
A number told you.
You jerk.
Oh crap, it looks like I'm missing a page.
It's the first time I've ever
We're on
seen
the
this.
I think we all are.
Yeah, bro.
Oh, is there a page missing?
We're on 12 now.
Might have to
Sure,
check
wear
that out and
glasses,
see.
bro.
Well, it's long enough.
Number 12. I have to look and see.
There's a
Hopefully,
line.
a whole bunch of those are.
It's alright.
The scores of the top 10 finishers in a recent golf tournament are listed below. Find the median score. Are those in order?
Yes.
So if there's 10 of them, how many do we want on each side?
4,
5?
12.
If there's,
We're gonna have 2 middle ones.
is there 10? There's 10, right?
Yeah.
So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right here should be the thing, right? But there's two of them, not just one. So find those two middle ones.
But they're both 72.
They're both 72. So normally what we do is we'd add them together and divide by 2. But if you add them together and divide by 2, what are you going to end up with?
72.
72. So what's the answer?
72,
That's the median.
B.
I got it.
Are we doing 13?
Yes.
Yes, because it's a mode.
Says find the mode. So mode is what again?
It's like the most.
The one that occurs the most. So look at that set.
72. It's 72.
72.
Which
Okay.
answer is that? A?
D.
D?
D.
The next one we got.
Do what?
So the next one we got.
Yeah, I need to do this too.
Number 14. A student receives test scores of 62, 83, 91. The student's final exam score is 88 and his homework score is 76. Each test is worth 20% of the final grade. The exam's worth 25% of the final grade. And the homework's worth 15% of the final grade. What's the student's mean score? This is the one, this is the weighted average stuff. So what we gotta do is you find, it looks like this. You take, right, is it?
That's for
The other lunch to go back in. You take this and you take the score, which is our x's, times the weighted percentage. And we're gonna add all of those up. And then we're gonna divide by the total weight, which is just gonna be 100%. So and this is how your class score for this, or your grade for this class is done. This is a harder way to look at it. All you really gotta do is, we're gonna have like our test average, our homework average, and our exam average. And then we're gonna add all of those up. Somebody help me out, for your test. We had what, 3 tests?
Yeah.
What were your total points on your test?
62, 83, 90.
Give me a total.
Oh.
Oh.
How could I?
Yeah, I think that was bad today. It's your fault, right?
Okay. 60? What?
All right, now, how many tests were there?
30.
So divide that by 3.
78.6.
So we'll say 79. So that's our test average, 79. Our tests count what percentage?
20.
20%?
Yes.
So we want to times that by 0.20. Don't do that yet. But that's what we're going to end up doing. Our homework. I think they just flat out told us our homework average, didn't they?
Did you take the total and divide by?
Yeah, I added up all the tests and divided by, there was 3 tests, and that's where we got to 79 from.
Okay.
Did they just tell us the homework average?
50%. Oh no, they didn't tell us the
Homework
Homework
score is 76.
So 76, we just 76. We don't have to figure it out, they told it to us. What percentage of our grade is the homework count for?
15.
So we times that by 15.
Or, wait.
And then the exam,
88.
88, and we times that by what percent of our grade is the exam?
25.
25%?
Yeah.
Yeah, something ain't right.
Why?
Because what should our percentages add up to?
100.
Should add up to 100.
Oh,
Ours-
it's a test part. Each test is worth 20%.
Oh, each test. Alright, so we did this wrong. Probably wouldn't matter, it's probably gonna be about the same. I should have read it more carefully. So we take 62 times 20%, what's our other test scores?
83 and 91.
83 times 20%, and 91 times 20%. Sorry, I gotta read more carefully.
Okay, so you don't need the total.
It's probably gonna come out about the same as that, but let's just make sure. So on this, once we do this, you could punch all of this stuff into your calculator just like it is. Say, punch in this, plus this, plus this, plus that, plus that. And you can do that, punch it into your calculator, and it'll do it all for you.
You didn't say.
Yeah, I can't talk very well. Just
Under the weather.
Clogged up for some reason. I don't know.
Who? Who's different in classes? I was gonna say weird, but.
Yeah, but she's not.
That's me.
Pushing it.
I got
Six
eight.
quarters of shrink. Give us 6 quarters of shrink.
Is that one of the answers down there?
Yes, it's letter D. You're gonna,
Wait, so you don't even need the other stuff? You don't need the homework or the exam? You just need
We did all that. She punched all this in,
Uh-huh.
and just, she punched in this times that,
And then added those.
then added this times that, then added this, then added that, then added that. She just punched it all in at once. And that does all of this right here for you.
Yeah, that looks a lot more easy than that.
Well, this says the same thing, it's just a different way to write it.
Equation. Yeah, that's a good one.
Are we doing 15?
15. Oh, I didn't. That one's kind of easy, but I
Let's just make a,
don't really know
just a
what
stem and
the-
leaf plot.
So do it.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Without performing any calculations, use the stem and leaf plots to determine which statements or which statement is accurate.
I said kid actually.
So if we look at it, we're looking at these 3 stem and leaf
I
plots.
don't.
Really?
What can you tell me about these first 2?
There's two.
They sort of look the same, don't they? Are they the same numbers?
Yeah.
No, they got different stems,
Wait,
right?
what?
But they sort of look the same. So what that's telling you, when they sort of look the same, when they're sort of in that same thing, their standard deviations are probably gonna be pretty close to the same. Well, I shouldn't say that. They're spread out the same. Their standard deviations aren't gonna be the same, because one standard deviation is gonna be bigger than the other. This one, what's true about the third one?
The third one?
It looks like everything's all sort of bunched together, right? So it would have a real small standard deviation. Let's see what all these say. Data sets 1 and 2 have the same standard deviation. Yeah, maybe sort of. Let's go on though. Data set 2 has the greatest standard deviation. Probably not. It's probably pretty similar to 1, so we're not sure about that. Data set 1 and 3 have the same range.
I don't think so.
Probably not, because it looks like that one goes from like 15 to 35. This one goes from 9 to 41. That's probably not going to work. Data set 1 has the smallest standard deviation. Again, what do we say about 1 and 2?
About the same.
They're probably about the same standard deviation. So which one works?
A.
Probably A. Won't write with my hand over. 16. Approximate the mean of the group data.
It's when you add and divide, but.
You did coach ever play with it? Every practice. Oh, yeah. It helps us a lot.
So on this one, this is one that we didn't do a whole lot with. This is our X, this is our frequency. We didn't do a whole lot with this, but you gotta know how to do it. First thing you gotta do on this, find the midpoint. What's the midpoint of the first group here, or the first class? These shouldn't be very hard. 1.5, what's the midpoint of the second group? 3.5. Third group? Fourth one?
Oh, I get it.
You just remember, you just add these two and divide by 2, right? But this one's pretty easy because it's just what's halfway between 1 and 2. Now, since we don't know all the numbers like we would in the stem and leaf plot where we could just add up all the numbers and divide and find the mean. Here we're saying that we have 29 that are what? 1.5. Even though there probably wasn't any 1.5s in there. They were probably all 1s and 2s. But this is the only way we can do it. So all we're going to do with this now, and it's probably easier if you just do it all on your calculator, is you take the frequency times the midpoint and you add them all up. You sum them all up. So on your calculator, you're going to take this number times that one plus this one 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 times that one. And we just want to know that sum. So you can plug all that into your calculator and find it.
That's what I did.
Somebody help us out. Somebody else could be doing this on their calculator. We also need to know this sum because we got to know how many are in our whole sample.
I got 351.5.
351.5.
Total 77.
77. Now to find the average, to find the mean or the X bar, we're just going to take 351.5 divided by 77.
You tell me the answer.
Yeah, 4.5.
So we'll say 4.6. Close enough. Now let's make sure that our answer makes sense. We're saying that the average is about 4.6. So that means the average is going to fall somewhere about in there. About half of the numbers on top, about half the numbers on bottom there.
About.
Yeah, that's pretty close. Is that one of the answers on there?
One of the answers is 4.
4 or 5.
So 4 or 5. Which one are we going to go with?
We have 4, 5, 6, and 15.
6. I mean 5.
5. So letter C.
Yep.
Yeah. Does it matter which one? Like if we can like show you all of our work, are you gonna like?
On my answer, I put C. So on my key that I worked out here, I put C or D.
C or D?
17. Are we doing 17?
Yeah.
Says find the sample standard deviation. Do we want to do the big chart?
No.
No? So what are you going to have to do? Use your calculator. Plug all these numbers into a list on your calculator. 2, 6, 15, 9. Make sure you know how to do this. So if you don't have your calculator out right now and it comes Tuesday and you're not punching them in right, and you start whining and crying, I'll probably laugh at you. Give you a second to get them punched in.
How do you clear, how do I clear this list?
You can, if you go back to,
These have to be in order, right?
if you go back to stat, and see right there it says clear list. You go down to that and hit second, whichever list it is, like list 1. And now you go back to stat and edit, and it should all be gone. So you can do it that way, or what I always do, because I'm too lazy to go backwards, you can just hit, as one of the numbers is highlighted, you can just keep hitting the delete button But sometimes if you got a big long list in there, that takes forever.
Did you guys make like earrings or something today? What'd you guys make? Just whatever you wanted.
It was mainly earrings, but some people made like keychains that they didn't know if they were just pierced or like made earrings but have to wait for your Christmas morning has the like the long things at home.
Miss Brown was so excited when she showed
Then
me
how
her
do you spell
earrings.
this stuff again?
That.
Standard deviation is SX,
Spat
right?
and then.
That's for the sample.
And then one
And then
variable.
sigma X is for
Okay, this is.
population.
I think.
This is a sample. The other thing I wanted to show you, if you put it in a list, because Michael was saying, does it have to be in order? If you go to your list, you can have the calculator order it for you. I can't remember how to do it for sure, but, so go to your list.
Oh, it's already in order. Right.
Oh, you put it in order?
I didn't.
So,
I didn't.
go to your list. Oh. Go to sort. Enter. Put it in list one. Or list two, which one is? Go back to it and see if it. So on the stat, under stat, it's got clear list, and it's also got where you can order it. It's got like order A, order D. Order A is going from lowest to highest, and order D is going from highest to lowest, depending on which way you want it ordered. So if you wanted to do that,
Oh, wait, we have.
no, you don't have to have it that way.
Oh.
But if for some reason you want to know what's the highest and what's the lowest, then you can order it without having to look through the whole list. So the things that they tell you, we don't care about all this stuff, but remember they tell you the X bar, which is the mean for the sample. They tell you the sum of all of them. They tell you SX, I think that's what we want this time, isn't it? Is that what we want, the standard deviation?
Yeah.
What is the standard deviation for this one? 7.1. They also tell you this, remember that's a standard deviation also,
Wait.
but this is for 7 point what?
SX.
Yeah,
Now it's 6.7.
6.7,
I got 6.9.
6.9.
Yeah, I have a 6.9.
Okay, I thought it was. I was
Okay.
getting
Did you
nervous.
miss the two?
But the only closest one on that
I don't think
is
so.
a 6.8.
Wait a minute.
What two?
What'd you get, Trent?
I got a 7.08.
That was for just sample, right? Sample, what'd you get
Oh,
for the O
there's
shape?
two right there.
6.7.
Let me look.
What is it now?
Yeah, I missed the two.
Yeah. I did something.
So
right.
what's the SX?
It's 7.9.
7.1. What's the sigma X?
6.7.
This is the one we want this time because they told us it's a sample, right?
Yeah.
And then you could scroll down, find the min, max. Again, please, on the test, to make sure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Was that a 1, 4, or is that a 14?
It's a one.
It's a 1, 4. Alright. So there was 10 numbers here. When you're done putting in the numbers in your thing, and you look at the bottom of the screen, the bottom of the list down here, and it says L1 whatever, and it's got like dots, and it'll say like 10 or 11. If you got 10 pieces of data, down here at the bottom, it should say 11 because you haven't put in number 11 yet. You just got done putting in your 10th one. So just check to make sure. Is that one of the answers on there?
7.1.
Yeah. Letter D.
Yeah. Rocket. Let's go to the back.
The other thing, what if they'd ask us to find the variance?
Square root. Square.
So you take this number and you have to square it to get the variance.
What's square root?
That's if we were,
As if it's variance, okay.
if we were doing it out longhand using the chart, doing all the steps out long, when we get our final answer down here, that's gonna help us find the variance, and we'd have to take the square root of that to get the standard deviation. But if we're using the calculator tells us standard deviation, and we've gotta go backwards, square it to find the variance. Where are we going to next? We got about 10 minutes or so.
Let's go to 33.
33?
33.
Alright, we do 32 then, 33.
Sure.
Okay.
32 says listed below are ACT scores of 40 randomly selected students at a major university. Construct a relative frequency histogram of the data using 8 classes. If the university wants to accept the top 90% of the applicants, what should the minimum score be? If the university sets a minimum score at 17, what percent of the applicants will be accepted? So first thing we gotta do, we're gonna construct the frequency distribution, then we're gonna make a histogram. So we gotta figure out our class. When your classes, we gotta find our class width. Looking at our numbers up there, somebody help me out, what's the highest number?
24.
24?
25.
25?
26.
26?
Yeah. 26.
Do I hear 27?
No.
26?
26.
What's our lowest?
12.
12? We subtract those two, we get 14, and we divide by how many classes we want. How many classes did they say to use?
8.
8 classes. So somebody help me out, what's 14 divided by 8? Do you really have to divide this? How many 8s are there in 14? 1, but a little more than that, and we know we're gonna do what?
Round up.
We're gonna round it up, so instead of 1, it's gonna go up to what?
2.
That's our class width. Our class width's gonna end up being 2. So now I come over here, we're gonna make 8 classes. What's the lowest number?
12.
So we got 12 there. What's the next one gonna have to start with? The lower limit here.
14.
If you go up 2, that'd be 14. Next one,
16.
16,
18.
18.
20. 22.
We want how many?
8.
8. 1, 2, 3,
And is that
4, 6,
26?
7, 8.
And then
Our upper limit here is what?
you take the next one.
13, 15, 17, 19, 21, 23, 25, and it'll go up to there, it'll be 27. I don't know why I stopped. Somebody help me out. Let's do our tally so that we can have our frequency. Somebody start reading off numbers for me.
18.
16. 26. 19. 22. 25. 26. 19. 13. 14. 25. 14. 15. 19. 25. 24. 24. 21. 19. 20. 24. 23. 17. 21. 20. 25. 18. 23. 19. 18. 15. 22. 19. 18. 13. 19. 12.
Well, okay. Oh, 12. Ignore,
13.
ignore that.
21 and 17.
It's all of them?
Yep.
So I could have stuck that one in there. I thought maybe we'd have too many. Our frequency, how many did we have in this one? Ignore that. 4, 4, 3, 5, 4, 7, and 2, right? Somebody count up the numbers. You should be able to like count rows and columns and multiply, shouldn't you? 22. Oh, they told us, didn't they? How many was there supposed to be?
40.
40. So let's see, that's 11, 22, 27, 31, plus 9 is 40. So that checks out. So we didn't miss any. So that's our frequency distribution. The other thing that we need so that we can make a histogram. Sorry, I'm going to erase some of this because I didn't mean to erase it all. Stupid thing.
That's alright.
The other thing that we need here so that we can do the histogram is midpoint. What's the midpoint of this one? This is pretty easy again because it goes 12, 13, so what is it?
I cannot remember this. 12.5. Yep.
Next one's gonna be 14.5. If
That's 7.
if it's not easy like this, remember you add these two, divide by 2, but once you get over here, our class width was just 2, you're just adding 2 each time.
Okay.
Once you get to that, so this one's gonna be 18, that's a 5.
Yeah. That's
18.5, then 20.5, 22.5, 24.5, and 26.5. Our histogram's gonna look like this. Mine might not look the greatest.
Not a lot of room for that.
There's not really. Our histogram, our frequency. I look at our frequency here. Frequency is gonna go up the side over here. Our frequency goes from like 2 up to 11. So we might go something, I might just go like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. To try to make it so it's not quite so big. And then on our bottom down here, we put our little break in there because we're not going to start at 0. We're going to start at 12.5. So I just put in like 12.5. We should have 8 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 12.5, 14.5, 16.5, 18.5, 20.5, 22.5, 24.5, 26.5, and these are ACT scores, right? Scores. Which you label your graphs. Then we're just going to make our bars for the 12.5. Put the 12.5 right in the middle of the bar, and it's 4. So go up to 4, make the bar. Next one goes up to 4 also. Next one goes up to 3. Next one goes up to 11, so somewhere about right in there. And my bar got a little crazy. 5.
4, 7, and 2.
Some of them, a lot of times in this book, they'll do this. They'll put the numbers above the bars so you know exactly how many's in that bar. You don't have to do that.
Mine sucks.
I feel like I've been at school for a while.
Are we doing 33 then?
I don't know, we don't really want.
We got enough to get it done.
Well,
I said we got enough to get it done if you want, yeah.
is it the same as in one before?
Scatter plots.
specific to Scott.
So if we're doing a scatter plot, first thing, I look at my numbers here. Don't look, the student numbers, that doesn't really matter. What matters are these numbers, are these numbers and the scores. So like the first dot I'm gonna graph would be 578. So down here, I'm gonna put number of absences. And on the side, I'm gonna put the percent or the grade.
Yeah. Did you subtract one or?
No, these here,
Yeah, this is 579.
all 79, sorry. Couldn't read my own writing. So 5 and 79. Number of absences goes along the bottom. We could, number of absences goes from like 1 to 15. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, 15. Oh yeah, so we might put in, you don't have to put in a 0 because 0 is actually right here, so we could just put it right on there. All right. But then on the side, we might need a break because we're not going to start at 0 there. Because you probably don't have room. So our lowest grade is what? 48. So I might start at like 40 and just go 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100.
How accurate does this have to be?
Doesn't have to be real accurate, but I mean it.
Could we just go up by tens instead of?
Well, maybe, but you see my graph?
Yeah.
If your graph doesn't look like my graph with the dots going sort of in that same general direction, then, so then I just graph each one. 5, let's see, that's 1 there, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 and 79, it's going to be somewhere like that, and you just plot each point. Next point would be 6 and 78. 6, 78 is going to be somewhere maybe about like that. And you just keep plotting all those points, and by the time you're done, because we're going to run out of time, it's probably going to end up looking something like that. Oh, we forgot to answer the other questions on 32. Yeah, on 32. If the university wants to accept the top 90%, I think I erased it. No, I didn't. If they want to accept the top 90%, what cutoff do they have to have? Well, all we need to figure out is what 90% of 40 is. So if we got 40 people, somebody help me out, what's 0.9 times 40?
36.
Does everybody agree with that?
Yep.
So if they're going to accept the top 90%, how many people are they going to accept? 36. Now we got to figure out where the 36 score is. So we got 2, 9, 13, 18. 18 plus 11 is 29. 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. So what's the cutoff need to be? 14 or higher
I'm in.
is going to make it.
Me too.
Then the next one says, if the university sets a minimum score at 17, so a minimum score at 17, that's right here. What percent of the applicants? Now, I don't know why they would set a minimum score at 17. What we'd have to do to see 17, because 17 is the top score on this class, we'd have to go back up here and count. There was 40. We could have done this on the other one too. There was 40 scores. We need to count how many scores are 17 or higher and put that number on top and divide it and change it to a percent. All right, it's not real hard. Just look up through there. Let's see. 17 or higher. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Why don't you just take,
8.
instead of counting 17 or higher, why don't you just take the
lower, it's.
because here I don't know what these scores were. So we could do this, we could just look from our chart here and say, okay, we know there's 11 here, right?
Yeah.
But we need to know how many of these 3 were 17.
Oh, okay.
So we got 29, we know that there's 29 that are higher, but we need to know how many of these 3 were 17, because they're gonna get in also. So,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how many 17s there were. Test next time, be ready to ask questions off this next time, and I'll answer a few before the test.